Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Degrassi-ism. No, this is not an unpopular opinion. This is basically something on the Reddit community I posted last month. And for context, this is June 25th when this is being taken. I said there's a lot of similarities between the Claude Tanner suicide from Degrassi High and Rick Murray's death in Next Gen. So here's what I said. So as some of this Reddit knows, there was a plot in Degrassi High about Claude Tanner's suicide and how the students reacted differently, and the ever-present Rick Murray timeline from Next Generation. There were some similarities and one glaring omission that should have been a similarity. And I listed 9 of them. So I'm gonna tell you the 9 of them, and then I'm going to talk about some comments made, and basically I'm going to go through the 9 points and basically try to explain it without overanalyzing like I'm prone to do. So anyway, number 1 was the events both took place close to a major Degrassi play / production. Degrassi High was close to a student talent show, and Next Gens was close to a production of Dracula. Number 2, both characters Claude and Rick brought a gun to the school. Claude to off himself, and it wasn't clear if Rick was going to kill himself at first, but it was to off Paige or kill her. Number 3 is both characters had unrequited love interests. Claude with Caitlin and Rick with Emma. Number 4 is both characters were massively spurned by their love interests. Claude because he left Caitlin high and dry during a protest and got her in court, and Rick because he kissed Emma, but she told him that she protected him out of pity. Number 5, Raj and Simpson were both involved in the plot lines. Raj was the VP, not the principal, but he was the vice principal of Degrassi High, and Snake was the student who found Claude's dead body in the bathroom and ran to the office to alert Radich. And in the Rick Murray situation, Snake was the media immersion teacher who tried to tell Principal Radich that he needs to handle the situation better, even in the aftermath. Even in the aftermath, I think Snake may have told Radich to handle it better, but failed. Number 6 is students openly talked about both sides of the situation. With Claude's death, whether suicide was a sin or was it meant to hurt the school who spurned him a bit. And also the fact that Joanne said something to the point of, Claude was my friend and I wish I had done something for him. He should never have died. Also, and then for Rick's death, I talked about the bullying debate, whether he deserved his fate for what he did to Terry or was he pushed too hard by everyone around him. Number 7 is both students suffering mental issues. Claude was a situation with his parents trying to win back Caitlin and just not being positive, whereas Rick had the mental block of trying not to let anything bother him about the returning to Degrassi, and also the fact that he never seemed to tell Radich or his parents about any bullying, thinking he will get hurt worse. Number 8 is that both characters seem to have, like Rick and Claude, seem to have psychologically hurt their crushes after their deaths. Claude seemed to haunt Caitlin in her dreams until Joey tells her that it's exactly what Claude wants, to make Caitlin feel bad for spurning him. And Rick's actions at times stand still, especially with putting a gun to her, made Emma turn into a zombie and got into her mental well-being until Jay snaps her out of it. Not the best way to do it, but it was efficient. And I picked, of course, the glaring emotion was that the talent show almost was canceled in the wake of Claude's death until Spike said we could do the best of both worlds, meaning we can have the talent show and make it a benefit for suicidal teens. And if Raj had remembered that issue in Degrassi High, he would have made it a benefit somehow to the and added it with the Dracula play in Next Gen by putting on the play, making it a benefit, making Raj probably feel better about his lack of work towards the Rick situation, but it would feed his ego, and students weren't happy with that. And I said, did I miss something? Have at it. And Livian, who's one of my best contributors, said, quote, that part about the play being a positive thing is a good point. I think the issue with the Dracula play was that it was too dark and he wanted something sunny, whereas the talent show was just, why are we singing and dancing after a death? And the compromise was to make money for charity. I think Raj still would have insisted the play be positive. And Snake only brings up Claude after what happens with Cam. In Degrassi High, Joanna was the only one who knew about Claude's issues were, but you didn't see them together much. Plus, there wasn't much build up to Claude being depressed outside of Caitlin dumping him and having issues at home. Rick's situation had more of a build up because Next Gen had way more room for developing the storyline than Degrassi High did. And I said good points. Um, People were like, why do you think he wanted to kill Paige? And someone said it was for telling him not to sit on the hood of her mom's minivan. But basically, you know, missed the point. But I basically told Technical Self that why Rick wanted to go after Paige is basically the anti-Rick rhetoric she was telling everyone about this about at the school, basically that Rick's a bad person even though that he just did one bad thing out of anger. He also was angry at Paige in season 3 for basically forcing Terry to choose her over Rick. Rick had a long history of distrusting Paige. And someone said she never liked him in the first place. He believed that she was the reason why Terry didn't want to be with him when in reality he was the reason. He blamed her for everything that happened in his own twisted mind. So I kind of like how people went above it. So basically, let me explain the points in order. Number one is that they took place close to a major Dracula play production. Degrassi High was doing a student talent show and all that. Claude was going to try out and basically do some kind of macabre poem, but basically Bronco and Lucy didn't think it was a good idea and basically shut him down and all that. And Snake and Joey were going to do a funny dance with Everybody Wants Something and all that. Now, of course, Snake was traumatized by seeing Claude's body, so Snake was out, and Will stepped in and took Snake's spot alongside Joey. And of course, Degrassi Jr. Next Gen had a production of Dracula. It wasn't really talked about much till after Rick's death and all that. But I guess they wanted to put on a school play and all that. I mean, we knew in Degrassi High it was earmarked for like a talent show and all that, but Next Gen we didn't see anything earmarked till after the death happened. So basically, yeah, there's a bit of a difference. Number 2 was about both characters bringing a gun to the school. Yeah, Claude figured the time was right to basically kill himself because there was no turning back, in a sense. And Rick looked at the gun and Next Gen, and we weren't sure. We actually, remember, Time Stand Still Part 1 and 2 was a week apart. And basically, yeah, we didn't know what Rick would do with the gun. A lot of us figured that he would try to shoot somebody and kill the person because obviously, he wanted revenge for all those people who put him in a bad situation. So we find out that he wants to off Paige because, Paige was spreading the anti-Rick rhetoric. But Paige basically tells him that that's not the point of the case. My third point was about both characters having unrequited love interest. Although you could say that point 4 was the same. They had unrequited love interest. Basically, what that means is basically they were in love with another girl, but they didn't return the love back. That was with Claude with Caitlin and Rick with Emma. And basically, they were spurned. Claude and Caitlin were a decent couple and all that, who wanted to protect animal rights. But Claude ran away from Caitlin when they were trying to get into some kind of laboratory and all that. Got Caitlin to take the rap. Caitlin took some kind of sentence and all that. Some kind of probation and all that. And she never forgave Claude for it. Claude was hoping to get Caitlin back. But, Caitlin still had the feelings about being spurned by Claude. And so she should have. And Rick, because, he thought that Emma showed her loyalty towards him by protecting him from Paige, Alex, and a lot of other people. However, we soon learned that, Emma even says it to Rick the first time. She basically says that, I protected you because it was the right thing to do. This doesn't mean I like you at all. And Rick goes, yeah, that's right. That's true. And then basically, Rick wasn't listening to Emma. I think Emma kind of figured that Rick was going to fall in love with her for some reason and was trying to cover her bases. But unfortunately, Rick didn't get the point, and then Rick kissed Emma after she tried to calm him down after being painted and feathered. I mean, why would you kiss someone with paint and feathers on in the first place? So anyway, Emma gets ticked off and all that. I also said, yeah, the Simpson and Radish being involved in each plot in the plot lines, both plot lines. I mean, Radish was the VP, and Snake was the student who found Claude and ran to Radish right off the bat. I'm surprised he didn't run to the unseen principal in Degrassi High. But anyway, yeah. So basically, Radish was still in a authoritative position when Next Gen happened, and basically, Snake was a media immersion teacher, and basically Snake was upset that Raj was blowing off every opportunity about the Rick situation. Snake made some good points. Raj made a good point saying that how was I supposed to know one student was going to bring a gun to school and get get triggered by some spilled paint? But basically, yeah, I just couldn't believe that Raj basically became a dick and all that. Yeah, it was weird how Raj and Simpson were involved in another school shooting, if you will, even though it was a suicide. Like, what was it, 13 years prior? And then basically, they didn't have any recollection of it. I guess Simpson might have taken it out of his mind. Anyway, and as I said, students talked about both sides of the situation. Whether Claude's death was suicide was the answer, or basically, he was pushed into it, or basically he was just trying to make people more anguished and all that. I mean, both sides make a good point. Like Joanne made a good point about the fact that Claude was troubled, and she blamed herself for a lot of things, but Raj basically told her that you can't help someone who didn't want to be helped and all that. And then, of course, Lucy makes a good point saying that, maybe he did it to make us feel bad about how we were treating him and basically trying to make us look like the bad guys and all of that. And, they talk about, like, you got to talk to an adult about the situation and all that. And then, of course, with the Rick situation, especially in Back in Black, that's the episode that was after Time Stands Still. They talk about their feelings on the Monday after. And they talk about, trying to get better and all that. It's like, hard to believe. I like Rick in a sense that, his story was kind of open-ended. I don't like it that the writers purposely made it open-ended and all that. Well, it's more for discussion and all that. Fair enough. I mean, Toby was on the side of saying that Rick was bullied and, he was troubled. And Craig says that, Rick didn't take a hint. And basically, Rick was after somebody and all that. Why are we praising Rick? I mean, he shot somebody. Why are we giving sympathy towards Rick? And, for me, it's like if Rick hadn't tried to retaliate with the spray paint and especially with a gun, he would have won. He would have had his answers. He would have won. But sadly, though, he didn't win. Of course, students suffering mental issues and then deciding to psychologically hurt their crushes. I mean, Claude had problems with his parents trying to get Caitlin back into his life and, things falling apart. And Rick basically had the issue of trying to block out everyone's abuse of him when he came back to Grassy after what he did to Terry. And he didn't tell anybody in authority, his parents or a teacher, about his problems, trying to keep it within himself. Now, I think I know why he did it, because he didn't want people to win. And basically, he just wanted, to tell himself that he's fine and nobody can ruin him. But basically, Eddie also figured that if he told somebody, then they probably will really get revenge on him and all that. And then I also talked about the psychologically hurt because, in the days after Claude's suicide, Caitlin gets haunted by Claude and all that and questions whether she should have, been nicer to Claude. But then Joey sees that and Joey basically says that Claude only did it. And if Claude sent her roses and all that, and sent her a note saying that he was going to off himself, I think in a way he was going to do it to get on Caitlin's nerves. And Joey basically tells Claude that, tells Caitlin that Claude was a jerk the whole time and that he knew what he was doing. He knew if he tried to ruin you that you feel guilty and basically, you'll fall apart. But he basically said, I'm not going to let you fall apart. So, yeah. So, yes, that is true. So, yeah. And then Rick, he psychologically hurt Emma. He didn't I think he may have haunted Emma in her dreams, but we didn't see it like we did with Degrassi High with Caitlin. But basically, Emma was off. But the weird thing about it before Secret, between, Time Stands Still and Secret, is that Emma seemed to be fine. She seemed to be taking things in stride. She does weep that, at Sean and all that. Just normal. She seemed to be okay, especially with the being in a drama club. She seemed to be fine. She didn't seem to be withdrawn or anything. But then by Secret, we find out she's really taking a nosedive. I think that basically Rick has gotten into her mind and she couldn't get it out, shake it. And she should have told somebody about it. I mean, why would Snake and Spike admit they were walking on eggshells around her? I guess because they all figured that Emma could bounce back. Not every Nobody is 100% mentally strong. You may think so, but there's always something that hurts their mental well-being. Hell, I'm not even close to 100% in that one. But yeah, so, Emma basically had problems. But just like Caitlin, someone had to tell Emma to snap out of it. And that was Jay, somehow. And then, of course, I said about the talent show was also almost canceled in the wake of Claude's death until Spike said we could do the best of both worlds. Because that's a blown opportunity by the writers to go back to the Degrassi High days and make it like that. Because they could have put Dracula on, but made it like something about bully teens and all that. They did it for Degrassi High, they made it a benefit about suicidal teens, but basically, the big issue is that, Raditch didn't have it in his memory bank. Maybe he blocked it out. I don't know. You don't know about this guy. And basically, Raditch was unsure about himself. I feel like Raditch basically may have been trying to figure stuff out and all that. To the point of saying, well, what did I do wrong and all that? You did plenty wrong with that. And, even if Raj wasn't sure about the Dracula and all that, he should have just said that, maybe we'll postpone it until further notice and all that. But he never told them to postpone it till further notice. He could have done that, or he could have made it like a benefit if he remembered what Spike had said years ago. But I don't think he would have remembered. Basically, he became his own worst enemy, if you will. So, yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes. That Raditch was his own worst enemy and all that. I mean, it's amazing how I found like 8 similarities between Chloe Tanner's suicide and the Rick Murray shooting in season 4. I would have thought that someone would have said, oh, wait, you missed one. But no, I guess not. I guess I did a good job. And I know there was a lot of similarities between the Rick Murray situation and the Devin Selvey thing that I did in the playlist alongside this. But yeah, it's amazing how things can connect in such a sense. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.